Persona's back, and it's more royal than ever. But before I return to raiding Madarame's palace, there's a little over an hour of new content included in this version of the game that I wanted to cover. Starting at the very beginning, we're going to see a good showcase of one of the major new mechanics of the game, as well as a preview of one of the major new characters. And if you're wondering, hey, where's the second guy at? Well, there was a scheduling conflict. Okay, it's past midnight here, and he didn't want to spend an hour recording Persona. But I do, so that's what we're going to be doing. Alright, the hookshot. It's pretty much just a context-sensitive way to pull yourself up on top of things. In other words, it's really just a glorified, more cutscene-y version of jumping on top of walls or bookcases or whatever from the original game. I don't think it's really meant to be like something super special by itself. It's really more of an excuse to remix a lot of how the palaces work. You know, chop and screw their layouts. I mean, certainly I've seen that from comparison between the first palace in the Royal and the first palace from Vanilla. In the way that there was like for example, a courtyard on top of a roof that was, you just were sneaking past a bunch of really tough enemies in the original game. Here there's a gazebo there and you just zip line right away. I'm gonna have to see how it works in the rest of the game, but for right now, yeah, cool action time. I don't think you should just be throwing your sword around with this many enemies around here. Don't you need that? I got a gun, I suppose, but yeah, no, it's the start of Digital Devil Saga all over again. And I really remember that because there was a Jack Frost quiz asking how many bullets did Surf shoot in the opening cutscene of the game. And I'm like, I didn't watch that. I don't watch extract modes in games. Well, yeah, anyway. So, new character. She shot off 2 bullets in case I'm going to have a quiz on that later on. I don't really know what to make of her just yet. All I really know is that better than Marie? Yes. Absolutely. But, I mean, given what she's like right now and how you see her in the game, well, soon enough, it's certainly a difference. Certainly a difference. And despite the fact that she does seem to be separate from the whole Phantom Thieves, she does also seem to be, like, so fleshed out, I can't imagine her not joining the group later on. At least as a party member, if not a full-fledged member of the group. I don't know. So yeah, if you're wondering, this is taking place immediately after you do the initial intro version of dashing between cover, and then afterwards it picks up right with the anime cutscene where you jump out the stained glass window to all of the police in Japan. I'm gonna be jumping around an awful lot in this episode, but I do think you can ultimately break this down by like 3 different parts. We're gonna be seeing red-haired girl, followed by a little bit of the new Mementos stuff, and then one more confidant to finish out the episode. There's also a lot of other, like, really minor, tiny things that happen in the course of the Royal, but I covered most of the major things. Like, there's a few things, like, for example, school quiz questions suddenly are changed up, like, slightly remixed to be a very similar type of question, but not the exact same one as the original. Also, every single social link now includes kind of like a postscript section where basically you just get a call from them and you get a little extra chance to up their points some more. They're all pretty useless, but I didn't include every single one of them. So yeah, past that point, you know the story. You get caught and everything like that. Skip a couple days later, after I've already been to the palace once, but before, you know, made the decision to finally be taking out Kamoshida for good, you do get the first preview of red-haired ribbon girl, Yoshizawa. Her name is Yoshizawa. I think anybody that's been paying attention to any of the many, many promotional materials for this knows that. It's like, yeah, you get to see what she's like outside of battle mode. Back when she was her old, weak self. Before she started following me around in Mementos and helping me out, but not becoming part of the team. Is her evolution from being weak to becoming a tsundere stalker? Because there's absolutely no reason she should have been in the palace if she's not part of the Phantom Thieves. We were still in the attaché case, which I assume was supposed to be the treasure. That place was about to be destroyed. And even if she was just doing some last-minute looting, you know, sending out the calling card meant that that place was on high alert and that it was way more dangerous than just going to some place like Mementos. I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to see in time. It could also be that they didn't really have any place to put battle-ready Yoshizawa, so it had to be in the intro, regardless of how much sense it made. But maybe there's a better reason. I don't know. I haven't played enough of the game just yet. Oh, also, I don't really ride a whole lot of public transportation, but that seemed like a real jerk move by that guy. But then again, this is Persona 5, so, you know, jerk moves are just kind of the order of the day. Unless you're the main character, then you get endlessly berated for it. But yeah, Yoshizawa going to the school, so we're going to be seeing her a whole lot around there. And as you can tell from this scene, she is very demure, very apologetic. Her catchphrase is, "Please excuse me, shitsure shimasu." So yeah, we're going to be seeing a whole lot of that very soon. By very soon, I mean immediately. Because we're having a word with Kawakami. Yes, I know. You just said that. Why do we have to go to this room for this? I mean, you could just talk to me in the hall. We didn't really have too much trouble doing that earlier. I know, yes. Since we're doing the old Persona bingo card here, we gonna get Kamoshida establishes himself as a villain? Oh, you bet. We do get a couple extra scenes with this guy, but it's not really anything very substantial. It's just kind of the same thing, but more that we saw earlier. There you go. So yeah, we got berating the main character, you know, telling you that you're going to be out of here if you do anything wrong. Kamoshida being established as villain. Are we going to get Ryuji gets confused by things very easily? Oh, you bet. You bet we are. Actually, that is something that I did forget to say. I said there were 3 parts of this episode earlier, but after this Yoshizawa thing, there is actually a little bit of new stuff in the new palace, whether it's some expanded and just generally better tutorials, showing off a couple more of the new mechanics, or some of the new collectibles that you can get in the palaces now. So, yeah, it's actually 4 sections, I suppose. By the way, every single time I see Kawakami standing next to the main character, it's just, she is really short. That has nothing to do with anything. It's just an observation that I noticed a lot when I was editing these episodes. That and the, you know, going back all the way back to the intro, it makes me wonder if the entire reason that they're being very, very cagey about the exact rules of the metaverse, like, what happens if you just walk outside of the palace and walk around? Can you find other palaces? Are you just going to find yourself in Mementos? Do you automatically leave the place? I think that's because they're building towards a mid-game twist where it turns out that the whole interrogation and everything, getting caught by the police, is still happening in the metaverse. Which seems pretty obvious now that I think about it, because how else are you going to recover from that whole debacle? But at the same time, it's like, boy, it just makes those scenes feel even more useless than they already are. Yeah. I wouldn't even say that was a joke. So yeah, into the palace here. This is, I think, right before we get the hiding behind cover tutorial, even though we got that in the very intro of the game. I still think that's absolutely ridiculous that we're getting so many of these tutorials twice because they want to do the little in media res bit. But yes, this is introducing the improved version of Baton Pass. Baton Pass was in the original game, but I think you had to have like ranks with your team members to use it, and I don't know, usually if you could get the weakness or heavy damage on a character, you just not want to switch to one of your party members. I don't remember getting a whole lot of usage out of it, let's just say that. But yeah, here, now you can just do it whenever, and you get some pretty huge bonuses for doing it. Stuff like damage up, and then if you pass it to every single one of your team members, you're able to get a free, you know, HP-less or SP-less skill that you can use. So, hey, actual reasons to use that. I don't know how often the whole passing it to all 4 of your party members is going to be coming up, but it might actually be more than you think, because one of the other new things being introduced here is ways that you can customize your party members a little bit more. Yeah, I can't pass it back to the same person. And also they get a different power glow every single time you do this, which I like. That's good. It certainly makes it a lot more interesting. And one of the other things that was introduced that was such a short thing that I didn't even include in the video is that you don't have to go out of the palace to get your ammo refilled now. It just gets automatically refilled after every single battle, which, first off, these are imaginary guns anyway. We're shooting mind bullets. Why do we have a limited number of them? Well, I suppose you can ask that question for a lot of the things that appear in this game, but still. It's better gameplay-wise, in my opinion. Well, this place isn't changed up too much, but as soon as I get into the dining hall, there's a lot more... And there's actually nothing that has to do with, like, the zip line or anything like that. It's just... Well, they changed up this area from being just a big dining hall to having something of a puzzle in there. Specifically, I think it was changed because they also changed up the chapel area so that there's not a bunch of crawling around on the ceiling again, so they needed some place to introduce the idea of getting dirty laundry. Hey, it's important, I guess. Why not? Also, I like that every single time you go to one of the chains that Morgana has to say, hey, we recognize that. Yep, right behind those bars, but, you know, to figure that out, you gotta do a devilishly difficult puzzle. It's really not. You just basically remember to... you pull chains to open up some of the bars. Some of the bars go down when you open some of them. Just remember to basically close the door on the way out. There's not even any enemies in here now. Which I remember, this was kind of like the first area that you saw in this palace that just kind of had enemies walking around. I mean, there was like a tiny scullery as well as like kitchen next to it. Wait, is the scullery the same thing as a kitchen? Pantry. Pantry is the word that I was thinking of. But yeah. There you go. I told you, devilishly difficult. It's like I'm playing The Witness again. Well, I mean, with all the traps around here, it kind of is. It's too bad I don't have the second guy here, otherwise he'd probably have more to say on that point. Yep, right in here is the treasure that I was talking about, as well as the... I don't even know why I'm bothering looting a lot of this stuff. I suppose I am playing on Merciless mode. Yeah, they upped the difficulty even more for the new release, so I decided to go... Like I said in the very first episode of the series... Yeah, it's dirty clothes. Go do the coin-operated laundry. You know, like I said in the first episode of the series, hey, if you're going to town, you might as well go in a Cadillac, so... I still pumped it up to the highest difficulty possible. I think it's also good just because, hey, you get a lot more variety of the persona and, you know, tactics when it comes to creating them. I'm sure I've said this before in the series, but ultimately, in any sort of turn-based game, but especially Persona, I feel like, a lot of the difference between getting a very difficult battle and a very easy battle is just how much preparation you do. The actual battle themselves are not all that not all that important. So yeah, this is immediately after you get the ambush as well as the shadows begging for their life type of tutorial. Instead of getting, I don't even remember what it was in the original game, you get a ring that will allow you to get a new skill. So I threw that on, for example, Ryuji, so now he can cast Garu, which is super helpful. Like I said, lets you customize your characters a little bit more so that they're not just, hey, you know, Anne's the fire character, Ryuji's the lightning and punch character, Morgana has healing and wind. Now, they're actually, you can make them a little bit more versatile now. And yes, as I'm sure as you can probably guess, this is the intro to the zipline. Wire, they called it in the Japanese version, which is what I want to keep calling it, even though in the English version, it's the hook shot. I think in the original version of the game, this was just a kind of a destroyed stairs that you hopped over. A little bit worse for the wear now. I guess in 3 years, it kind of went, you know, there's been a little wear and tear on Kamoshida's mind. Test it out. Give it a try. It's not like 10 minutes earlier in this episode, I mastered the art of hookshotting, the art of pressing L1. Every time. But anyway, the way that the hookshot works is that you angle the camera upwards, and if you see a power glow on your left hand, you hookshot up to it. There's absolutely no reason not to. It either leads to progress or an item in some way. I think it's because they added in a cutscene, and it's a, you know, a relatively new mechanic that they're not going to be faking you out by sending you into enemies or like traps, at least for now. I compared it to jumping around, but there's a lot of places where you can just kind of jump up on top of things for the sake of jumping up on top of things. And that doesn't really seem to be the case with hookshotting yet. Oh, in this scene, I don't remember if they introduced the idea of the super tough, red, perpetually on fire enemies in the game, but I included the scene anyway. Why not? Better safe than sorry and all that. And then immediately after doing the secret room puzzle, getting the introduction of another new enemy type. One that I actually like. One that is certainly going to help me out a lot in merciless mode here, if nothing else. Oh, and there is also another addition to the secret library puzzle here as well, adding in a fourth book that is bodybuilding techniques, if I'm remembering it right, but there's not really a way to use it. Or at least there wasn't a way that I found that you could use that book. And I think I did clear out most of the stuff in the palace, so I don't know, maybe it was just supposed to be to fake you out or something. Well, anyway, we got one that's mumbling to itself, being shown here, mumbling by glowing purple and blue and emitting electricity all over the place. That's just how it works in the metaverse. Why not? Ryuji, this is why we have turn-based battles. It's so that you can't just attack them wildly, because then they can attack you wildly. Yeah, but no, that's the actual mechanic of the thing. It doesn't attack, but it counterattacks you if you don't kill it outright. So, yeah, make sure you're taking this thing out in one blow. Because afterwards, it drops an item and explodes. So yeah, it's actually a very easy way to take down some difficult enemies, because I believe it is like almighty damage or something. So even if an enemy has like all over resistances, not going to be resisting that. Yeah, it's just an easy way to take out some tough enemies, and I can appreciate that because yeah, merciless. It's a small mercy in this mode. Easiest way, of course, is to just hit him with the weakness, take him out in one strike, and then yeah, finish up the battle. Like just do one hit on whatever enemies that are remaining, usually, or at least he takes out a pretty big chunk of their health, if nothing else. Putting it to sleep or making it unable to move is an interesting idea, but I think it's only going to come up when enemies start to not be... When enemies get resistances to most of the elements that you're going to be throwing out. For right now, though, I mean, just one little bit of electricity from Genbu will do it. I mean, it's actually very, like, passive unless you attack them. Kyoma, Disaster Shadows. They're really not that scary. If anything, they're more like loot pinatas, because as soon as you kill them, you do get an item out of it. Exactly. Oh, and this scene. I do like this one, because in the original version, after you beat up the Archangel mini-boss in the chapel, A bunch of enemies spawned, but they just started patrolling around rather than actually trying to attack you. So it was sort of silly. Here, with the hook shot and zipping up the stuff, you actually get to see the enemies attempt to stop you from doing what you're doing. It does mean that you are going to be skipping most of this area, but at the same time, it's not like that was that great of an area. You did get that one, like, overhanging group of Kamoshida statues, which I guess is what you would consider a piece of art around here, which you're kind of be missing out on, but that's fine. And despite the fact that you can skip a lot of this, you can also go backwards and see, like, a lot of the former level design, which I do here because there's a chest, but in one of the later areas, although you can do that, I don't even bother doing it, though. Besides, like I said, merciless mode, gotta loot everything, get all those advantages. Even though I maybe should have been thinking a little bit more about what's gonna make for a good video rather than making sure that I am smashing and looting everything in sight. Or maybe I didn't go for that chest. I guess I didn't remember that correctly. Ah, well, whatever. Now, the big new thing that they've added here is this. Big ivy-covered door with a sign that has no admittance, no entry. And after kind of looking around in each one of the other rooms, there was a little cut there to get right to the incredible puzzle once again. Is it press L1? It is. You guessed it. Again, we just had the tutorial for this. Also, it's sparkling. Also, the left hand is going to do that thing. Yeah, there's nothing suspicious about it. It's just an ivy-covered door. I mean, it is different in the sense that each one of these rooms is completely, like, the same. Every single... If you see one of these ivy-covered doors, it all leads into the same room, is basically what I'm saying. So I guess maybe it's like some sort of, like, universal type of area to get into, but... I don't know, that's also maybe just coming up with excuses for reusing designs, trying to tie it into the lore. Oh, yes. So, this thing is like, I don't know, it's a colored orb inside of a stone skull that has persimmon leaves on the top. I feel like it might be a reference or, like, maybe like a mythological type of thing, but the design sure is strange. Ryuji doesn't get it. Put it up on the board. And also its name, Will Seed. In Japanese, it's Ishi. Ishi, which is a pun, meaning stone, but also like will, volition. So, yeah, I didn't get that at the start. It wasn't until I saw the English version that I'm like, oh yeah, I guess Ishi can also mean will. So, and then one of those things that gets lost in translation a little bit. I mean, a trap going off, who cares? Getting cursed? I feel like just being in here, we've already been cursed by the metaverse navigation app that we got. We're gonna get extra cursed by this. It's like, can deal with it. Nothing happened for now. Yep, 3 of them in every single dungeon, and they are usually more hidden than this. It is also kind of an excuse to take one of the mini-bosses in the first palace here, Mara, and instead put them as the guardian for one of the doors. So, It is nice in that way, because I remember Mara, and then the one that we're going to be seeing in Madarame's Palace a little bit later on is a pretty difficult battle, so having them become optional, I'm okay with. That does mean that we are going to be losing out on the whole... on that room with all of the Kamoshida statues that stare directly at the camera, though. I kind of like that one. And also the great talk about the tower being Kamoshida's penis, which I'm actually okay with losing out on that one. See it right on the map, and it gets marked off as you get them. Easy enough. So yeah, this was the area that I was talking about on the roof with the gazebo. In the original playthrough of the game, I pretty much had to defeat every single one of these because I could not figure out where to jump up. And surprise, surprise, same thing here. Real proud of my video game playing skills, and you're wondering why I keep doing these things post-commentary or practiced. It's because if I didn't, I would just be like every other person that does videos on the internet. Bad at the video game is what I'm saying. Neat. And you can go backwards from here too to see like the original area that you could jump up onto with the ramparts and everything. But there's no reason to do that. There's nothing over there. I mean, the only reason that I would do that is to make that great Bloodstained reference that I did the first time. You know, where I was talking about how Jeeble had the book. You know, Jeeble. The guy who has the book. Is this going to the second Ishii? You bet. Will Seed. Can I just call them Ishii? Well, I suppose it doesn't really matter. You don't really have a say in it. Unless you really berate me in the comments, like people berate the main character. So they do try to make it a little bit difficult to get some of the hookshot points, but they're pretty obvious. Also, if you do try to go forward from the initial room that you're in there, Morgana says, hey, I think there's a will seat above us. So yeah, it's not the most difficult one to figure out. I'm going to guess they're probably going to get a little bit more difficult in time. RGB color scheme? Hell yes. Why not? And I do like that you are able to get a little bit of SP each time that you pick one of those things up. It makes it so that you can stick around in the dungeon for a lot longer. And then yeah, when you're trying to find one of doing the eyeball puzzle earlier, or a little bit later, there is a new area that you have to go to get the second one. Involving the hook shot? Well, did you expect anything else? And hey, finally getting another one of these sort of ambushes. Don't come up too often in the game. Even though this one is not lining up in the way that I want it to. You know, I don't think the new ambush theme is terrible or anything, but I gotta say, I think Last Surprise is the better song. They changed this up similarly in Persona 4, The Golden, where the regular theme was Time to Make History, and then they made the original battle theme, Reach Out to the Truth, be the surprise attack one. Here, I would have, you know, more often than not, you get surprise attacks. So, yeah, good exploitation of the technical system. Not that I really needed a tutorial for that, but the reason I wanted to do it here was because they didn't have one in the original game. But yeah, I do think that I would have preferred to have Last Surprise as the surprise theme because, well, it's a better theme. And I do hear that a lot more because I'm more often than not am ambushing enemies. So yeah, this is just the area when you leave the portrait after going down the butt elevator is just directly to your right. Unlike before, where there was that second elevator that just brought an enemy up to attack you, there's more stuff in there now. But you need to activate the elevator first. That's right, actual puzzles rather than just ambushing you with an enemy. And like I had said, since there is no Mara area before, and since this is obviously the area that's leading to the third will seed, that this is where he is stationed now. At the bottom of the tower. I mean, it's a real demotion, if you're asking me. Do kind of like the area, though. But yep, you can see it right over there. And whenever you get close to those areas, you start hearing like whispering and the like. So you do have a good idea of just how close you are to them, or the general location of it. You know, if it's otherwise an area that looks like you should be able to get to and can't get to, which is the easiest way to figure that out. It's not going to be that rough. Look, if you don't think I know how to deal with Mara at this point, it's freeze him. You freeze him and get a bunch of technicals. That's pretty much it. And no, why'd you say that? Yeah. I swear that every single time they introduce Mara, it's worse. But yeah, no specific weaknesses here, so like I said, it's much like the original way that I... Boy, I went into here with absolutely no health on Anne, did I? Probably should have thought about that, because it's not like they didn't warn you that you were about to be getting into a tough fight right now. Like I said, not that it matters. And the original time that I fought this guy, it was like super difficult, I remember. I think I even had to like take a short, like leave the palace at that point in time to be able to deal with it. But here, not nearly as threatening. And I don't even remember, did he even get off a single attack? I guess not. All right, cool. Totally out of SP, though. Not that it matters, because we're basically at the end of the dungeon anyway. You and I, you know how many times I've gone through this palace, and it's terrible. Well, I mean, I do own, what, the English version, Japanese version of Persona 5, and the English version, Japanese version of the Royal as well now. Got the Crystal of Lust. Great. I love it. It is an accessory. I mean, that's, you know, hey. That's good. But at the same time, yeah. Still am entirely unsure on exactly how much Morgana actually has explored the metaverse. Clearly he has some ability to do that, but the way that the main characters are not interested at all in that is frustrating to no end. So yeah, you can equip it, and it does something that I don't remember. Yeah. You know, these things are described as being like not as good as a treasure or whatever, but we actually use this as an accessory, and you know, like, it's powerful and everything like that, and yet the treasures were apparently just, you know, hawking off for like $300. That is still one of the most ridiculous things of everything that has happened in the game. That is maybe one of the most ridiculous. Anyway, going back to the Valve... anyway, at this point in time, I had cleared out through the entire thing, and I had secured the path to the treasure and everything like that, so I went back to talk to the guys in the Velvet Room, specifically so that I can try to get up a couple social link things. But hey, we got a new thing here. Challenge battles. I didn't do any of them yet. They're called challenge battles, and I'm not merciless. I'm not gonna just like jump right into something that is supposed to be extra challenging, even on top of the extra challenge that I have right now. Great. I hope I can get some Chaos Emeralds there or something. The game just started, even though I've been playing it for like 3 hours at this point. Yeah, I think like the first one we got going on here is just a fight against like Jack Frost or something. It probably would be easy enough to do, but I wasn't that interested. Kamoshida boss fight got a little bit of a makeover. Rather than having just the generic slaves in here, we now get actual characters serving him up the ball. Which is good. I mean, it you know, makes them a little bit more connected to characters rather than just being generic. And as always, the main characters are very, very dense when it comes to understanding that the things they see in here are not actually representative of the things you see in the real world. Yeah, I tried lowering his hit rate, but I don't know if that even matters for this attack. Oh well, main character will be fine, I'm sure. This was perhaps a bad idea on my part. But actually it was totally okay. Even Dream Mishima can't catch a break. Great. And for God's sake. Yeah, I guess it couldn't be Anne because, one, she's not on the volleyball team, and two, she's currently in the wine glass that Kamoshida is drinking. So yeah, you're given a choice here of just continuing to attack Kamoshida while he's distracted, or just attack Suzui, which is much easier. Take a guess which one I chose. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm not going to get fooled by the fact that she's not real. For God's sake. Apparently weak to physical attacks too, which makes this pretty easy to do. This game sometimes. It's not the real one. Yeah, and then you get the same, like, try to knock off his crown. And once again, I was completely unable to do that. So, here's another new character. In Mementos, upon trying to leave it for the first time after dealing with Shadow Nakanohara, he didn't even realize what was happening, so I had to go backwards to just even get the dialogue that happened there. We get this white egg boy, who is clearly a shadow, by the way. Do the main characters not understand that? You bet. He's got like the telltale shadow yellow eye thing. Also, he's in Mementos. Also, he talks like an alien. Like, I don't know how many more things I can point out here to prove my point. Why does he look like an egg? I don't know. And yeah, this is kind of a part of attempting to... Oh boy. Oh, by the way, in all the transcripts, I do have his name as Jose. Z-E, because that's the literal... That's the transliteration from his Japanese name. But yeah, it is S-E. J-O-S-E. Yeah, this is part of an effort to kind of like make Mementos a little bit more interesting, a little bit more bearable, I guess. Not that I had too much problem with it before. It was just, hey, some of the scenery got a little bit repetitive over time. But yeah, you'll find him here, and as I'm sure you can probably tell from his gigantic clown car filled up with stuff. Yeah. That he is going to be like a sort of, ongoing plot as well as a merchant, somebody to sell you stuff down here. Which is nice. Doesn't really make that much of a difference, though, I'd like to say, in the course of going through this dungeon, though. Yeah, and flowers, much like grabbing the regular items that you find around Mementos, just kind of appear in your way, and you can run over them to collect them. It's pretty easy. I don't see why not. I mean, he is almost assuredly going to turn out to be a bonus optional super boss by the end of the game, but it might be sort of like amicable, like, hey, let's fight for fun type of thing, rather than being like him being evil. Shut up, Morgana. And he does give you some pretty useful stuff. I mean, notably, he gives you SP restoring items, which are pretty rare in the game. So having some way... And SP is pretty much your counter for how long you can stay in a dungeon, because that's your healing, that's your elemental attacks and everything like that. So you can take down enemies quicker and make sure that you can, avoid taking a lot of damage. I mean, it's overall a pretty sweet deal. I don't know what the collective unconscious type of food stuff is, but apparently cookies. Milk taste cookies. I do like the taste of milk. And I guess, the cats and milk and whatever. I don't know. And there's a little cutscene every time you enter an area, and Jose is there. So it's pretty obvious if you're going to see him on any one of the floors. Another catchphrase? You know it. Otsukare. Or good job. I mean, it means like thank you for your hard work. But no, they went with good job. Sure, why not? And are you trying to take Ryuji's crown on this point? But he had the yellow eyes and everything. I don't know, maybe he's one of the attendants in training, because they also do that as well. They got like the yellow eye type of thing. You can see that in Carolyn, Justine, Margaret, Elizabeth. They all do it. I don't know, maybe there's like an entire civilization of these guys living in the collective unconscious they just don't know about. Or maybe he's just here. I'm sure we'll probably figure out a little bit more about what exactly this guy is doing, you know, the motivations. I mean, eventually, right? So what is this thing? I honestly have no idea. I'm gonna guess it's probably a thing to be done later in the game. So, but for right now, we got it. You know, some sort of MacGuffin that is going to save you from something. If this was like the original version of the game and not, you know, a new character that I knew that was added separate to the plot that existed in Persona 5 Vanilla, it's like I would think maybe this would have something to do with like the whole interrogation scene and whatever. And it's like, hey, you know, wishing on a star and whatever. But I don't think that's going to come up there. Maybe something to do with like Yoshizawa later on. Or the other new character that's about to be introduced. Well, I guess not about to be introduced. Still got one more scene with Jose here. Like, what are the dumb wishes these guys have? Let me tell you, as it turns out, it's not anything particularly magnanimous. I know, as if you need me to tell you that. And there you go. Yes, that's the problem. You didn't think big enough. I mean, I guess these are guys that did sell the Kamoshida's treasure for $300, so what do you expect? With the whole existence of the will seed, that is still absolutely ridiculous. And it's going to even become worse when I talk to Jose again. So yeah, going back through the gate that you just opened up by finishing the first palace. Get another cutscene with Jose, and this is also like pretty much just immediately before you see the Reaper cutscene. Well, we get the Reaper explanation, so just kind of cut off a little abruptly because of that. Oh, it's Gare. And really taking a liking to the dude. And he is marked right on the map. It's pretty easy to find him. I told you, it's a lot of SP restoring items, and a couple other like recovery items for like getting back from, and there's the Reaper stuff, and like a couple other items for like recovering from dizziness and shock and whatever. But it's not that big of a deal. Immediately before I get attacked by a shadow. That's actually a lot of how I conduct my business in Mementos. It's like, fight things? Nah, I'm just gonna zoom past them. I got a car. You don't need to fight things. Showing Jose your crystal of lust. Hey up. Hey up. There's a good reason why I didn't subtitle that one. You're not going to like take a screenshot of that, let me tell you. So yeah, apparently it's like the crystal is not only an accessory by itself, it also can be upgraded by Jose into an even better accessory. Again, maybe he could have done something like this with metal. You know, the treasure? No, we sold it for $300. It's that part of the game is just, it's madness, and I cannot get over it. Well, anyway, I don't even remember exactly what it does, but I think I have it equipped on the main character. So, and trust me, I am going to be getting every one of those in every one of the dungeons. Why not? I like looking around for them. It's kind of fun. And I do already have it for the second dungeon, too. I haven't gotten Mementos yet to get whatever the improved version of the accessory is, but... yeah. Stamps. Yep, and now before you leave each area, you can get a stamp. And also, just kind of like randomly in the middle of Mementos, you'll find a stamp station sometimes. Thankfully, it is marked on the map, so you won't just like accidentally run by it, but you do need to like open up the door to the area. You need to be within range to see it first. And that will let you do some of the real big boy, big buffs to Mementos, giving you like extra money, extra experience, you know, a lot of stuff like that. And I got like 50 of them here or something. I like with the zoomed in nature of this, you can see the gigantic pollen like going around. Oh yeah, I didn't get these ones down because I forgot to record them in the English version. But yeah, like I said, some basic restoring stuff and then some SP restoring stuff. And obviously I'm going to be taking the SP restoring stuff. Because come on. It is clearly the most important thing here. Oh, I actually only had 11 flowers at this point. Huh. I thought I had more for some reason. Well, certainly I went to go get a bunch of stuff after this. Another reason why I think I'm probably going to be fighting Jose eventually is that he does have a giant hammer. Just, you know, right there. Don't worry about it. What is he even going to use that on? Nothing. So yeah, it is experience, money, and item. So there's some good stuff you can get from that. You gotta make sure you use them or lose them, etc. It's not that big of a deal, really. As much as I would like to get as much out of these flowers as possible, I don't actually come to Mementos all that much because, you know, usually stuck in a cutscene purgatory most of the time. So, yeah. And then here's the stamp station. Because I know you were curious as to what this wacky thing would look like. Sure. But yeah, I'll probably be collecting these as much as I possibly can over the course of the game. No reason not to, really. And most of them are pretty easy to get, so... you just need to find the exit to the next area. Alright. Now, 513, we got one more new character to introduce. Which, given the way that Kamoshida just freely harassed me over and over, it's like, come on. I don't think you can really try to you know, undo that right now. Isn't he hot? Maruki, the counselor. Which you might have noticed if... yeah, he's also like super clumsy, which makes him approachable. No, that's... anyway. Yeah, if you noticed too, if you were looking through like the persona registry or anything like that, that the two new confidants that apparently I'm going to be getting are Faith and Counselor. So, yeah. It's no surprise that we're going to be seeing this guy. Quite a bit, actually, because apparently he's only here for a limited amount of time. Till November, but... that's 6 months. It would look worse if they didn't try to put in at least one more character into the remake of the game. I do like the phrase clowning it up. And he walks immediately into frame because that's kind of... Because as you know, Persona 5 does work like a stage play, where characters just kind of walk into frame constantly and tell you what they're doing and get really interested in you as a person. I still don't know why that includes me. I've been here for like a month. Like, it's been 4 weeks. Maybe he's also doing this shtick for each one of the members of the volleyball team and everything. I guess, you know, especially given the Yoshizawa cutscene we saw earlier, it's like he really did have it out for me. But I gotta tell you, the main character, yeah, it's given that he has tabula rasa and everything, didn't really seem to care all that much about it. What do you mean, eh? Oh yeah, it's another one of his endearing traits. Loves free snacks. Really into the snacks. Which, to be fair, yeah, I'd take some snacks. Yeah, tell me more about snacks. Don't fall for that. Like, what are you getting tricked here? Ah, I tricked you into telling me about how you're feeling. Now I can use this as blackmail against you because this is Persona 5, and that's the sort of thing that happens here. I do also like that he's constantly wearing a white lab coat. Because he's a doctor, you see. So yeah, this is actually something that's kind of useful. He does give you like a secondary mental training techniques. It's a lot like how you get the pull-up thing in your room to up your HP. The mental training can up your SP, which of course, like I said, is way more important than HP anyway. So yeah. Might be something that, you know, hey, if nothing else is going on, I'll be taking advantage of that. And actually, one of the things I never even mentioned was the fact that Morgana is a lot less hardcore about making sure that you go to sleep all the time. So if there is like an event that happens during the day, you'll still actually be able to do stuff at night. I know, what a concept. That you don't need to go immediately to sleep after you walked around for 5 minutes in Shibuya. Crazy, huh? So yeah, there's a lot more time that you can spend doing stuff like crafting up the many key picks that I'm going to be using over the course of this, or I think I might have a couple new types of thief tools to be doing, so that's great. I mean, it's just, you know, why couldn't that have been in the original game? I'm just saying. Why do you have to be going to sleep all the time? It certainly helps with that whole, like, being stuck in cutscene purgatory that I was talking about earlier. Yeah. Najima still sitting here, still fighting crime in a future time, but doesn't... I'm still pretty sure that we're just going to find out that she's, like, you know, collective unconscious Najima. Cognitive Najima, eventually. I mean, if not, then it's like the main character is terrible. I'd like to imagine that if that is actually happening in the real world, that what we should be seeing is Najima just... her face and her hands, like, with 5 cups of coffee around there, like 12 pizzas, and then the main character just being like, and then the cat told me to go to bed again, but I wasn't really all that sleepy, but I did it anyway because the cat told me to go to bed. And being like, and that's what I spent the next day studying in the library, and then also studying at LeBlanc. And then the next day I also studied in the library, but I did work over at the beef bowl place because I was trying to talk to this politician guy. And, you know, just endlessly. hours and hours on end. I mean, any sort of issue that I have with the story of Persona 5 can be traced back to the fact that this is technically a story being told by the main character to Najima. So, any faults with that kind of go on him. But of course, it's like, you know, given the way that he's so cagey and kind of a jerk about everything, it's probably just still in the metaverse. I never saw the big red rings shooting me out of that area, so it's kind of what I am expecting to happen at this point. It wasn't really until I played the Royal for the first time that I realized, like, oh yeah, I guess we never really got like a transition out of there. And also, why'd the police get to a palace in the first place? You might also say, like, oh yeah, and also the people in the interrogation room were way harsher. No, that's just a Persona 5 thing. That's just what I expect out of Persona 5. Gotta get them snacks. Never even find out what kind of snacks he has. I think that you do get one after your first meeting with Maruki, but it's like, it's gum. Sure, gum. I can get down with a little bit of gum, but for the most part, give me like some crackers or something. I don't know. Like some chips. Like pretzels? I don't really want pretzels. At least not like, you know, your pretzel rods. You feel like big soft pretzels, but I feel like that's maybe a little bit out of the budget for the snacks here. I'll take combos though. It's been actually quite a while since I've had combos, and that does have, you know, pretzel, but it also has like a cheese thing, cheese sort of filling, something that you could liken to cheese within it. I think you could really just get like a good amount of mileage out of chips. Like Lay's has been in an arms race for years to create a bunch of really wacky types of flavors and styles of chips. Yeah, just pack in a whole bunch of those. You can have something for any occasion. I think that's the one you probably want to go for. Same thing with like Pop-Tarts, but again, maybe a little bit outside the budget to be getting like a full pack of Pop-Tarts of every single variety. Your s'mores Pop-Tarts, your like wild berry, your sundaes, ice cream, birthday cake Pop-Tarts. There's a lot of good stuff out there though. Ooh, also Oreos. Oreos are also like very similar to Pop-Tarts in the sort of variety of flavors that you can get. The point is hard candies and like gum. Come on, at least go for like a candy bar or cookies or something like that. Chewy soft cookies. How about that? Well, anyway, there is an actual game going on in the background here, so I shouldn't be just simply talking about snacks this entire time. Although, we haven't even gotten into like drinks. I mean, hot drinks. I see that Anne has a cup of tea right now. Maruki has a juice box. I'll probably take like a juice box. Maybe let's go like soda on the lowest. Juice, then some sort of hot drink, coffee probably. Let's just go with coffee. It's been a time since I've had a cup of coffee, and I'd appreciate that right now. A lot of sugar in it, though. That's how I always take it. Yes, anyway. So I do like this scene because before Anne was kind of like revenge obsessed when it came to Kamoshida. To the point that she was saying stuff like, hey, making him feel guilty is a fate worse than death. But it does seem like she's kind of moved past like that sort of part a bit, which I do like, you know, as part of the story here. Because I mean, I've said my piece on revenge plots before, so kind of eliminating that from her character is just good in my eyes. And the other thing is that, boy, Maruki really lays it on thick, doesn't he? Like, he really lays it on thick. To the point that I think a little bit later on, I kind of just, I take one of the opportunities with the few choices that you can get here to try and call him out on it, but not that that really matters. And stuff you say in these dialogues either doesn't matter or is just there to get you a couple points up on your relationship meter with whoever you're talking to. Have fun running around the school, I guess. Yeah, they tell you like it's in the practice building as if, you know, you're not going to get a cutscene immediately going there. And one more scene with Yoshizawa. Just to kind of cap off the episode here. They apparently know each other, which is like a big coincidence. If this was like Marie from the previous game, from Persona 4 The Golden, it's like I would wonder if they're like in cahoots about something, but it's a little bit too early to tell just yet. I mean, like, hey, you know, Maruki is the Morgana of Yoshizawa's going around in the palaces. Still don't really know what she was doing back in the Casino Palace, but the only time will tell. Maybe the fact that he's a doctor. I mean, in Persona 3, it was like a team of scientists that blah, blah, blah created the Dark Hour and stuff. So, maybe like his experimentations into the unconscious, being a psychologist, blah, 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 something like that. I mean, it is interesting to see an actual, like, person who's going to be, who would know about, like, Jungian psychology, or at least the history of it. I mean, this is obviously not really, you know, modern stuff as far as I know. As far as I know. But at least you'd kind of be, like, somewhat familiar with it. Yeah, but there's not really too much to be said on it, because obviously he's not really seeing the metaverse by itself. Boy, would that be quite the breakthrough, though. But I talked a lot already about the possibilities. You know, the classic villain line when it comes to utilizing the metaverse. Yeah, it's actually super easy when the main character has no life of his own and is just a blank slate. You have no desires, and that's made it very easy for you to integrate it into any situation you find yourself in. It's incredible. Also, yeah, like I was saying, just because he doesn't know about the metaverse does not stop him from talking in a very apropos way. Really now? Yes. Yes, it is. I mean, we don't even know exactly what you talked about because the main character doesn't talk. That's why I went the third option here. Not that it matters, but still. I mean, maybe he doesn't actually... You know, I'm looking at this right now. Maybe he is not actually drinking like a juice box and the main character is having a cup of tea right now. Maybe they're just permanently affixed to the table, because that appears to be the exact same tableau that we saw earlier. So, yeah. I'd actually like it if they had like different types of drinks for each person that you see in the office, because of course we're going to be seeing Ryuji here soon enough. But more and more about metaphorical hearts. Well, I'll tell you this, they go for about $300. Yeah, I know, but still. It still frustrates me. In other words, it's going to fade out, and then I'm going to get a little bit more SP. Simple as that. Yes, give me all the Pop-Tarts. Probably should have asked him why me, though, because, well, I guess he's just really impressed with the fact that I have no personality. That's about it. Great, the contract is sealed. Now I can begin this game, etc. Detox X. It makes it so that you have any sort of negative status effect last a shorter amount of time on you, which is pretty good. I mean, considering that the game is over if the main character dies, that's something I'll probably be getting a lot of use out of. Getting even like a single technical on the main character would probably take him out easily. Five is not a whole lot, though. Yeah, there you go, gum. Ugh. I scoff at your offerings, but I will accept them anyway. Should probably actually see what that does, but I'm sure it probably cures a status or something. But it's for right now, it's at least something. Well, I mean, I'm going to, because I'm going to at least try to get every single character's confidant up that I possibly can. But anyway, next up, back to Madarame.